Hey, what's going on, friend? Juan Pablo here from 100% Finance. Now today, I'm going to discuss phase one of the four-phase system that we use to acquire cash-flowing multi-unit rental properties, with an emphasis on the three types of mortgages for investment properties. Take a listen. Now, my four-step process in finding multi-units are as follows, just in case you're unaware. Find the money, finding the deal, performing due diligence, and close. I'm not sure what's going on with my fingers today, but that's our four-step process. And today, we're going to focus on part of phase one in regard to mortgages, because you might be interested in acquiring a cash-flowing multi-unit property. And if so, great for you. So it's important for you to understand the three types of mortgages that I'm familiar with. And again, that I'm familiar with. I'm only speaking from experience. There might be more than one, more than three out there, but I'm speaking on behalf of what I experienced and what my clients have experienced, so that they can get qualified for the funding they need to get passive income. First off, now I'm not trying to be rude here. I'm not trying to be crude here. I'm not trying to be in the wrong mood here. I guess I'm trying to rap now. But I'm definitely not trying to be mean here by saying this, okay? But I do want to drive this point home. Beggars cannot be choosers. Now, I'm not calling you a beggar, but you get with the, what is it called, a metaphor, analogy, idiom, whatever the right English word is. Did you get my drift? I'm not trying to be mean here by saying this. But if someone, a mortgage company, is going to provide you with, let's say, 80% of the money you need to acquire an income-producing asset, then they are lending you their money, right? So they may have certain criteria and requirements and qualifications that you cannot be picky with if you're borrowing 80% of the financing. So it's just something I just want to share, because I do run across people who provide a lot of comments on YouTube, which I appreciate. Continue to comment below. But they say, well, you know what? I feel like even though I'm getting this mortgage, I don't want to provide my tax returns. Well, don't, right? Then don't get a mortgage, right? Well, I feel like the LTV at 80% LTV means loan to value, meaning how much they're going to lend you on the value of this property. So if the property is worth $100,000 and the mortgage company does an 80% LTV, that means they'll lend you $80,000. So some people may say, well, I'm not cool with an 80% LTV. I want 99%. Hey, beggars can't be choosers. That's the same mindset that I've always obtained, right? If this company is providing me with 80% of the money I need to acquire this property, who am I to complain and make demands on their lending criteria, right? And if you really think about it, if all this mortgage company is asking for is documentation or explanations, why not provide them? Sure, I'll give you all the paperwork you need if you're going to give me 80% of the money that I need. Don't get me wrong, I too hate paperwork. Most of you guys, especially you probably listening, you're probably an entrepreneur, right? Or have that entrepreneurial spirit. Most entrepreneurs who are visionaries, big picture, they hate to find details. They hate the day-to-day operations. They hate being down to earth, getting nitty-gritty done. My head is in the clouds, right? That's how I like to think. So when it comes to providing explanations about why did you make this deposit on the 4th? Or provide me with an explanation about this hard inquiry you have on your credit report. Or give me your tax returns, and I need to see your Schedule E's, your Schedule C's, your 1040s. Trust me, I dislike it as well. It's a pain in the butt, right? Especially you have to be organized and have all the information together. However, if they're willing to give me 80% of the money I need, who am I to beg, right? So that was a long tangent. I just want to say first off, right? And I also want to say first off too that you just got to be able to work with them. That's the part of business, right? People want to work with people who are credible, they can close, and they're not a pain in the butt to work with. All right? So I just wanted to drive home that point that beggars can't be choosers, and you have to be able to work with what you can qualify for. If you can't qualify for a particular mortgage because your credit is not high enough, but you do qualify for a different type of mortgage in which the terms may be, let's say, a tad bit more pricier, then by all means, move forward with it as long as the deal still works. That's the same mindset I have, right? It's having a mindset of adaptability. Being able to conduct business, to purchase real estate investments based upon the resources you have at your disposal. Because I don't want you to occupy the mindset of, well, I'm going to wait until all situations and circumstances and resources are perfect. I'm going to wait until I get my credit score to an 800. I'm going to wait until I have $500,000 in savings in the bank. Don't get me wrong. If you're close to those things I mentioned, by all means, wait. But my mindset is this: we live in an imperfect world. So why would I wait until all conditions are perfect? If I maintain that mindset, then that implies that I'll be waiting forever, meaning never taking action. So leverage the resources you have at your table, right, at your disposal. You may have $10,000 in savings. You might have a private money lender or equity partner who'd be willing to lend you the money or partner with you, and they may want a 12% interest rate instead of a 6%. You might have a 640, and you might be able to qualify for a FHA, right? And not necessarily another mortgage. Or you might have the ability to qualify for another mortgage that might have less desirable terms. But as long as you can structure the financing correctly and negotiate, then you can still make that work. All right? That yes, you can comment below. Yes, I went on a long tangent because I had to share it. We have clients in our program, and sometimes they had that mindset. So I just wanted to break that down for you and handle those objections. They're valid, and I get it. Most people are skeptics. I'm a skeptic as well when it comes to certain things. So I wanted to share that with you. But you're watching this to get those 3 types of mortgages, right? Right. So let's get into the first type. One of the first types of mortgages are I'm talking about investment mortgages, not owner-occupants, but investment. Okay. It's a conventional mortgage. So as I shared, with a conventional mortgage, the typical LTV is 80%, meaning they want you to put 80% down. Now, if you're buying a conventional mortgage that's residential, which is anything from 1 to 4 units, that's considered residential mortgages, 1 to 4 units. Yes, a quadplex is still residential mortgages. So the majority of their criteria will be focused on you, the borrower, and not so much the property and the cash flow that it produces, the performance of the asset. So they may ask for your tax returns, your copies of your W-2s, 1099s, bank statements for the past 2 months. They may also ask for pay stubs for the past 2 pay periods. They may ask for a lot of documentation just to make sure that you're financially capable of paying for that property. It's called global income. They want to make sure you have more than one source of income to pay for this property. Worst case scenario, the property's not cash flowing and you'll be able to come out of pocket to make the difference. Okay, so that's the first type of mortgage. So typically, if you're just getting started in real estate investments, and again, I'm not talking about owner-occupied properties where you live in one unit, rent out the other. That was my first deal. I bought a duplex, I lived in one unit, rent out the other. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about strictly investment property, meaning you're not occupying the unit whatsoever. So most investors who get started have to go that route of investment mortgages, conventional. And they're capped at buying a property 4 units max or under, but not over. Why? Because that leads us to the next mortgage, which is a commercial mortgage. Commercial mortgages, those are mortgages from banks that are more so local, regional banks. They're portfolio lenders, meaning they lend out their own pockets, so to speak, their own portfolio. So they're not backed by Fannie and Freddie, which are the secondary mortgage markets, right? So they're not backed by them, which means they can write their own ticket. They can make up their own qualifications, right? So their hands are not tied like conventional mortgages. So with commercial mortgages, you can buy properties 5 units and up. You can go multifamily. You can go big. you can go commercial. It's great. Commercial mortgages are great. I have commercial mortgages, right? However, commercial mortgage lenders, being that they're local, being that they know the lay of the land because they're in that market, as I shared, they're typically regional. They require experience. Because in their mindset, we're mainly focused on the asset, not so much the individual. 80% of our focus is on the property, not so much the person. But we want to make sure that person has a personal financial statement that proves their experience, meaning they have properties on their personal financial statement in that market that they want a commercial mortgage for. Because they want to make sure if you're going big, 5 years and up, you have some experience. Because if you fall hard, even though you might have the capital, let's say you have $200,000 in the bank, great job, right? You saved a business, other business, so forth, which is great. But with that $200,000, that has nothing to do with you being a successful real estate investor. If you have zero experience, you're trying to buy a 20 unit. It makes sense, right? So they want to make sure you have some experience. So that's why I shared, starting out, you might have to do multi-units, 2 units to 4 units. Personally speaking, only speaking from experience, I too wanted to go big as fast as possible. So this is the process that I took. I bought a duplex, bought a single family, so that's 3 units so far. What's wrong with me and my fingers today? And then I bought a 4 unit. So I bought 7 units. 7 units, all residential. Then after that, after having 3 deals under my belt on my personal financial statement, then I moved forward with acquiring multi-unit properties with a commercial, multifamily properties with a commercial mortgage, 5 units and up. Okay, so we discussed 2 types of mortgages so far. Conventional, residential, that's 1 to 4 units. Majority of emphasis is on you, the person, not so much the property. Then we discussed commercial. That's an investment mortgage in which you can buy 5 units and up. Seller financing is okay, they approve of that. Conventional, they don't. And they're for, partnerships, having the property owned in the entity. They're easier to work with. Their only criteria outside of the performance of the property for commercial mortgages is the experience of the investor. Now you could get around that if you partner with someone who is experienced, but if you don't have that partner, then you might have to start off with doing residential conventional mortgages first, just like myself. Okay. Now that brings me to the 3rd type of mortgage. If you're that person that says, you know what, I know you said one, like beggars can't be choosers, and some people just like gathering paperwork, like you said you hated doing that and so forth. All the organization and having to explain everything is a pain in the butt, but in my case, I don't have the paperwork. You might be a wholesaler, which is great, but you might not have documented income. You might not have tax returns, W-2s, 1099s. You may have bank statements because you're getting cash through your wholesaling enterprise, but you just don't have the full income, stated income documentation. You might not have the full documentation, but just stated income in regards to where your income is concerned. That's fine. You can still move forward with a mortgage, but it has to be a low doc mortgage, meaning low documentation. So they too come with their own criteria. It varies, Some may say we only do 1 to 4 units. Some just say, oh, we do 5 and up. But they pretty much don't do owner-occupied properties. It has to be investment only. And their LTV, loan to value, may not be 80%. It could be 75% or 70%. Why is that? Because it's a higher risk. Their interest rate might not be whatever it is at the time it's recording, 5%. It could be 6.5%. Why? Because it's the added risk. Lower documentation equates to higher risk, which equates to higher interest rate. Makes sense. However, if that's the only mortgage you can qualify for, then you have 2 options, my friend. Either A, you can move forward with the mortgage and make sure you find a deal that does fit, which we do. We find deals that fit low doc mortgages. As long as the cash flow is strong, then by all means move forward to low doc. Or B, you can just move forward with doing what you need to do to get the documentation together. It's up to you, right? So that's pretty much our 3 types of mortgages. Residential, conventional investment mortgages, commercial mortgages, and low doc mortgages. And if you're ever in need of a mortgage or interested in learning how you can acquire cash flowing multi-unit properties, then by all means, my friends, check the links below. So hopefully this was some useful content. If so, please like, share, and subscribe. I know I went off on a tangent, but I had to go off. This is the mindset, because I say that often on my podcast. The mindset trumps the skill set. Have the right mindset, guys. Abundance mindset. As always, to your success, continue to earn passively, live passionately. Peace.